Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. And in today's video, we've got a lot to cover, but I want to start it off talking about Jamal McCoy because we just put his film breakdown out last night versus Washington, and he is elite, okay? That's for members only. So if you would like to see it, please do consider becoming a member. It's a great way to support this channel, but he's very special, man. So we all know that Washington had the best passing attack in the entire country last season and probably the best wide receiver core. They've got three guys that are going to be NFL draft picks coming up in this draft. And man, Jamad was pretty much the only player on this entire team that really wasn't fazed by anybody or anything that Washington threw at him. And Washington tried a lot. They tried to isolate him on the outside. They tried some combination routes. They tried to line him up versus tight ends. They tried to isolate him in the slot. And he's playing man-to-man coverage in pretty much every single, clip that we have up at the line of scrimmage or playing off. And he held his own, man. I mean, he did more than hold his own. He really shut down everybody. I think he only gave up like 2 catches the entire game from probably somewhere around like 20 yards worth of catches or something like that. Didn't give up any touchdowns. And, they actually tried him. Like they tried to go to his side, several times in the end zone. And again, man, he just shut everybody down. So he is very, very elite, playing man coverage, playing zone coverage. We see him coming up, making tackles. I think he's going to end up being one of the best cover corners that Tennessee's had in the past decade. And, something else too. We talk a lot about cornerbacks having to guard those drag routes, okay, those crossing routes. There was a time when Washington tried that on Jamal McCoy as well, and that didn't work. They actually even tried to pick him off on that play, and that didn't work. So again, man, him along with Ricky Gibson and Jordan Matthews and everyone else that we have playing corner and in that secondary, I think that our secondary is going to go from being, one of the weaker points of our defense this past season to definitely being one of the strongest in the entire country. We've got, again, several players who can play man-to-man, and there's going to be some really tight windows along with a great pass rush. To me, it's a recipe for a top 5 defense overall. And obviously, the offense is going to take gigantic leap forwards as well. So I think that, man, it's like we keep on saying, Tennessee has a great opportunity to win a national championship coming up this season. But I do want to go ahead and shift gears and talk about Joakim Dodson because he will be announcing what college he's going to tomorrow. All right, so for those of y'all who don't know, Joakim Dodson is a 6-foot-tall, 180-pound wide receiver out of Collierville High School in Tennessee, and he is ranked number 546 nationally, number 80 wide receiver, and number 15 in the state of Tennessee. Now, those rankings to me are definitely lower than what they should be. He's for sure underrated. He's a really good football player, but I think that he's going to be even better in our system, okay? So right now, his choices sounds like it's going to be between us and Missouri, and I think that Tennessee is definitely in the lead right now. He just came off of a junior day visit this past weekend where he said that he, got to see a different side of the staff. He's been on campus several times, I think somewhere around 6 or 7 times. And, he said he got to see a different side of the staff. He got to sit down, watch some film with the coaching staff, and he got to see where he's going to fit into our system. The staff sounds like they like him a lot at slot or on the outside. Just from watching this film, I like him more on the outside, okay? I think that he could also play slot, but to me, he just looks like he's going to end up playing on the outside. But you see, he's got those long, powerful strides, and he does a great job of high-pointing footballs. He makes a lot of contested catches. Reminds me a lot of Jawan Jennings. Now, he's not as big as Jawan Jennings, but just his style of play, okay? He's that type of a player. And we talk about it all the time on this channel. We need these types of playmakers, these types of dogs. And whenever P and I are talking about dogs, we're not just talking about good football players, but we're talking about players that are tough, players that are physical, players that are going to make plays. You have to be a playmaker, especially in the SEC on the outside, playing up against teams like Georgia that we know that they're going to hold you, mug you all the time. Alabama's, Texas can be thrown into that mix as well. It's just every single week, it's a grind of some great secondary players. And those windows are a lot tighter in the SEC than they are in any other conference. So you need playmakers who can make these contested catches like Joakim Dodson can do. So I think that he would be a great pickup for our Volunteers. And I'm not quite sure why he's ranked so low. I don't know what the league is like that he plays in. He does look a lot bigger than 6 feet on his film. To me, he looks close to like 6'2", 6'3", right? I mean, he looks bigger than 180 too. He just looks like a big player. So maybe he's not playing up against the best players, but you can tell, right? Like you can tell, again, he's got those long strides, which means that he's a powerful runner. Okay, so he's a strong player, and his top end speed looks good. I'd say he's, low 4.5s, 4.4, something like that. And he's going to continue to get bigger, stronger, faster as he gets up on a college campus. But I think he's going to be a great addition to our wide receiver room moving forward in 2025. And we are expecting a lot more players to be committing to Tennessee coming up here, over the next few months. And while we're on this subject, we're currently in a dead period, okay? So the college coaches, okay, our coaches are back on campus working with the team. They're in their winter workout. So players are, like we talked about earlier, are getting bigger, faster, and stronger. And, we're heading into spring practice. So we're getting ready for that whole deal. Obviously we've got some players that are going to be getting ready for their pro days or the NFL Combine, all that good stuff. So there's a lot going on, and the coaches will be very involved with the team as it sits right now. But again, man, Joakim Dodson will be announcing tomorrow. I don't have a time yet necessarily, but once I do get that set in stone, we may go live for that. So if that's something that y'all would like to see, please keep a close eye out on the channel. We'll have some more information, in regards to if we will be going live with his announcement. All right, so now let's go ahead and shift gears and start talking about NIL. All right, so we're going to start off at this point in the article where it says 15 4- and 5-star recruits disclose to 24/7 Sports either exactly what they'll receive or around what they'll earn at their school of choice. The values run the gamut from a few thousand a month to around $1 million a year. And as we're scrolling down, you can see, okay, these are the 15 players that they're talking about, and you can see how much they're going to be making a year. So the first player, $350,000 a year. Second one, $400,000. Okay, number 3 is only getting $120,000. Number 4, he's getting $180,000. And then we got another $120,000. And then right here, number 6 is only getting $72,000. 7's only getting $75,000. And then up to number 8, $400,000. And then number 9, around $1 million a year. That's probably a quarterback prospect of some sort. It's probably a 5-star quarterback. And then we're seeing at number 10, this guy's only getting a few $1,000s a month. I think he needs to reconsider where he's going. And it's probably too late for these guys now, but I would say, he probably should have shopped around just a little bit more. But we'll actually see that some of these players are saying that, hey, money is not the reason that they're choosing, okay? Some of these players are just choosing because they really like a program out of school. So I know some of y'all will be happy to hear that. And then, we're going on down 600,000, 800,000. And then we've got another one, low to mid 6 figures a year. And then we've got around 200,000, 500,000, and then around 150,000 a year. So I think, obviously those are some incredible numbers. These guys are getting paid really, really well. At least these blue chip guys are. Now let's keep on scrolling and let's read some more. All right, so how the contracts work. NIL agreements can vary greatly from school to school and collective to collective, but there were some commonalities in the responses with 24/7 Sports asked players how their deals were structured. All right, and right here it says usually the first year of a contract is guaranteed at a certain number, but there are often incentives for players to raise their NIL payments based on how they play. Conversely, a few players mentioned their NIL payments could go down if they don't perform well. Beyond cash, players often also receive additional incentives like a leased vehicle. All right, and here's a quote from recruit number 2 that says, the way I have it, the first 2 years are $400 guaranteed, and after my sophomore year, I can ask to renegotiate based on how I play. All right, and now player number 12 says, if you produce, you get bonuses. Some schools do it differently, but that's how ours does it. All right, and as for what players must do to earn the money, responses varied from appearing at charity events and social media posts to just being on the team. All right, now let's fast forward to this point right here. It says there are some schools, even top 25 programs, that do not aggressively hand out NIL dollars. One elite recruit who signed with an annual conference title contender said that it's on the players to seek out potential deals. Now, this is something that I would not want to do, okay? If I am an incoming, college player, I don't want to have to go out and find my own deals. I've got enough stuff that I've got to worry about and deal with. Now, I do know that these players have agents, but whatever school that is, okay, that's probably a school like Alabama where they've been able to get players in just because they've been a powerhouse for such a long time. And players, maybe looking more at, hey, I'm going to be able to win some national championships. And, I'm also going to have a good opportunity to go on to the league. But I would say outside of that, man, like you need to have something set up to find these players NIL deals because, again, they've got to focus on their craft. Stop making them focus on the business side of things as much as what it sounds like some schools are trying to do. So that's not a good look, in my opinion. I hope Tennessee is not one of those programs. All right, now let's fast forward some more. And it's saying that they're not handed to them as an incentive to enroll. So I think that that's a good look, right? So obviously it sounds like, for the most part, okay, these players have not interacted with the program that is necessarily enticing them to enroll because of NIL. And we know that that's pretty much the only rule right now, or I guess guideline that there is with NIL, based off of what the NCAA has. All right, and this is a big one for most of us because we've talked about this several times on the channel. And it says, as for what happens if a player chooses to enter the transfer portal, a commonality in this era, most recruits told 24/7 Sports that their contracts would be void if they opted to leave. So, again, man, that's something that I'm hoping that Tennessee has implemented, okay, to try to deter players from transferring out so much. And we've also talked about that at some point there will be more of a cap, I think, put on transfer portal players once the players do become employees. The either institutions themselves or the conferences can actually enforce a law or a real rule where players can't transfer as much. And I think that that's probably only going to apply mostly to major college football. All right, now let's go on to the myths about NIL. It says $13 million for a transfer portal class, $30 million for a recruiting class. You hear it all in the college football rumor mill, where posters like sliced bread can lead to national headlines. All right, but what's real with NIL numbers and what isn't? You can go ahead and trash any thoughts that most recruits are getting paid millions annually to attend a school. People get paid to play, Recruit 14 said, but the numbers that you are hearing are outrageous. People are just lying and pushing it past what it is. All right, now this isn't to say that the numbers won't approach $1 million a year for special players at specific positions. Recruit 14 told 24/7 Sports that he and several other All-American Bowl players discussed how some quarterbacks could command $1 million a year on the open market. As for the valuations made by outsiders, this is something that we see a lot with On3. Players had mixed responses about how accurate those are. Multiple blue chip recruits told 24/7 Sports that the numbers they see are spot on, while others, like recruit number 1, said that his were way off. All right, and player number 6 said that it's about 50-50. Speculation sounds better than whatever actually happens. There's also an assumption out there that players always take the most money, but that isn't always the case. Recruits insisted. A pair of 5-star recruits told 24/7 Sports that they took less money to attend a school that they signed with, which meant losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend this, okay? It really all depends on the situation, but if you're going to be missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars, to me, I mean, that's a little bit iffy, right? Like, if you're talking about going to a school like Tennessee, okay, like a top tier program, versus a school maybe like a Southern Miss, then okay, I could get that, right? But if you're still going to be playing Power 5 ball, and if you are who everyone's saying you are, if you're really a blue chip player, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to go on to the next level. So why not take the money while you can? And now I know some people will disagree with it, but that's just kind of my thoughts on that. I don't understand leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. Again, unless maybe you're going to like your dream school, something like that, I could get that as well. But let's continue reading. NIL is just one part of the equation. As players make their decisions, some will prioritize money, but others will go where they'll be developed or simply want to be. My school wasn't the school that offered me the most money, number 3 said. A lot of schools just threw out money and stuff, but I'm not chasing money. I want to play and perform. For as many good things that come from NIL, there are horror stories out there about bad contracts from collectors or marketing agents. All right, so look no further than former Florida defensive tackle Jervon Dexter, who signed a $436,485 NIL deal with a speculative investment capital company in 2022. And the caveat that the company, Big League Advanced Fund, would get 15% of his NFL earnings from the next 25 years. So that, again, man, Florida is in a completely different position, really, whenever you're talking about what the NCAA is looking into with their NIL deals. Okay, like they're just doing a whole lot of crooked stuff, a whole lot of shady stuff. But that's who Florida is, okay? Like we already knew that. They're just a shady bunch of characters down there. So I'm really not surprised to see all of the negative stuff that's happening down there with their NIL contracts. And that's really why it's going to be tough for them to get back to prominence, I think. I mean, obviously there's a whole lot of money down there, so maybe they can right that ship. There's a whole lot of Florida fans, but I think that it's going to take them a few more years now because they have really mishandled NIL in a terrible way. All right, and let's get down to the last part right here, where one top 100 recruit told 24/7 Sports the schools that made him the wariest were those that offered an open checkbook from the start. Now, this right here, okay, we've heard a whole lot about this back in the day, right? Like before there were NIL deals, it would be, the player would end up in some room or something. Some booster comes up to him with a blank checkbook and says, okay, tell me your number. That's kind of how things used to go. I've heard a lot of stories about that. Now, let's get on to this last quote. It says, schools just told me, give me a number and you can commit at that number. That's exactly what I was just talking about. And he also said it was intriguing, but it kind of felt like a trap. All right, so that's a good look at what the NIL numbers look like for the high school players. I'd love to see what it is for the college transfer players. And I've heard a whole lot of rumors, but it's hard to tell what's real and what's not at the end of the day. But I do think that this is a great thing for football in general moving forward, because there was a lot of young players that were saying, hey, I'm going to go play something else. Because if you look at the way that the NFL contracts are set up, where the money isn't guaranteed, and I mean, what players only play, I think, on average for like 2 seasons in the NFL. And then, the quality of life is just poor after that for most of these players. So it was just a situation where a lot of people were kind of shying away from playing football at the highest levels. But I think that the NFL should try to get involved and make sure that things go very smoothly, especially for these Power 2 conferences, because it's going to protect their product and it's going to protect the longevity of the NFL. So those are just my thoughts on it, and I would love to hear y'all's. Okay, a whole lot of good information in this video. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.